When you encounter a pediatric patient presenting with signs of shock, such as hypotension, poor skin perfusion, decreased urine output, or confusion, often the best first step is to give IV fluids. This depends on the type of shock, but with distributive and hypovolemic shock, such as sepsis, anaphylaxis, or dehydration, the tank is low and you need to fill up the tank first. Sometimes IV fluids are not enough to improve perfusion. In these cases, you're going to start vasopressors and inotropes. Vasopressors act peripherally to cause vasoconstriction, while inotropes act centrally to increase cardiac output. So, which medication do you choose? In children, that's determined by whether the child is in cold shock or warm shock. In cold shock, children have delayed capillary refill with cold hands and feet. Warm shock, on the other hand, is just like it sounds. The hands and feet are warm. When a child is in septic shock, the recommendation is to start epinephrine in cold shock and norepinephrine in warm shock. Epinephrine is both a vasopressor and inotrope, so it will maintain vascular constriction but also act centrally to increase cardiac output, which is helpful when you already have vasoconstriction in cold shock. Norepinephrine is mainly a vasopressor, so it's used in warm shock when vasoconstriction hasn't been achieved yet. Generally, this is more common in adults than children. So usually your answer for which medication to start will be epinephrine. While waiting for the pharmacy to mix the epinephrine and deliver it to the bedside, you can start treatment by giving a preliminary push dose of epinephrine. Push dose epinephrine is a 10 times dilution of code epinephrine from the code cart that you'll make by mixing it with normal saline. Use a 10 milliliter flush syringe of normal saline. Push out 1 milliliter of the normal saline to get a total of 9 milliliters of volume. Draw 1 milliliter of code epinephrine into the same syringe. You can give the medication in small doses of 0.5 to 2 milliliters at a time, and make sure to watch what happens to the patient's blood pressure and perfusion. For a 10 kilogram patient, give a maximum of 1 milliliter of the mixed push dose. Above 20 kilograms, do not exceed 2 milliliters of the mixed push dose. 2 milliliters is the usual adult dose for push dose epinephrine. Therefore, we should never exceed 2 milliliters of the push dose. Titrate your push dose epinephrine to how your patient responds. You'll know you've given enough epinephrine once you see the patient improving with better mental status, skin perfusion, and blood pressure. You want to see that infant awake and crying like you'd expect in a time of stress, with better motor tone and not floppy. And you don't need to worry about overdosing children on epinephrine, since kids tolerate epinephrine better than adults. So the next time you have a pediatric patient in shock and fluids alone aren't helping, reach for epinephrine, the combined inotrope and vasopressor first.